guys, and welcome to the Steele Wars Hypernews for who knows what day it is. My computer does. Friday, the 16th of November. And it is a lovely evening. Thank you to everyone in the chat room that is joining us for our slightly later. It was a baby-induced later time, which also, we'll bring on today's co-host and then we'll discuss this. But welcome from the Bad Motivators podcast, my buddy Luke Cruz. Are you there, Luke?
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I am real good. I'm just going to crank you up a bit louder. I love your podcast, The Bad Motivators. It's really fun. It's a very unique podcast. I feel like the tone of it, and I've marveled at it's three dads. So as a new dad, I've been listening very intently. Now, as a podcaster, you guys, I'm used to technical issues. Very used to them. So used to them. They're second nature to me, particularly whenever I am on youtube.com. But to have technical issues while having child issues, I can't believe I'm here, Luke. I can't believe I'm here. I used all my Jedi might. Do or do not. There is no try. What's the anger leads to hate? Hate leads to not getting a podcast up and having a screaming baby. Yeah, but we're here, man. We are here.
Yeah.
I am just thrilled, and we're going to talk about a bunch of. It's been a good couple of weeks of Star Wars news. We've got to this week on the docket. Variety confirms the Making Star Wars scoop that Pedro Pascal will star in The Mandalorian. Gina Carano from the UFC, rumored to be cast in The Mandalorian. Diego Luna is talking his Cassian series. Billy Lord is talking Episode 9. And this one's a real banger, Luke Cruiser. Simon Pegg misses George Lucas. What do you make of that one?
I love Simon Pegg, but I'm so tired of the every 6 month Simon Pegg quote about Star Wars. Like, come on. Like, we get it. You have issues. But like it always sends this little ripple through our Star Wars Twitter. We're like, oh, let's talk about this. I'm like, let's not talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, of course we're talking about it now, but I mean, like in general, like I hate the build up around like, oh, Simon Pegg said something. Who cares? Like, he was in Star Wars. Be grateful.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, he's just another opinion. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just he's just like a very high profile person, and I was. Like, if he doesn't like the prequels, that's fine. But his wording about it was pretty dickish, which something about how he didn't respect anyone that liked them or something like that. Am I off base there? But no. So I sort of think he got a bit too worked up about it. But then after Ahmed Best was had began doing his field notes and talking about the reaction to Jar Jar Binks, he actually came out in an interview and sort of said, oh man, that's like, I was way out of line, and kind of took it on the chin that, like, despite his opinion, he was sort of in the wrong for spouting it that way.
Yeah, here he is again.
Yeah.
Not 2 months later after he made that comment.
Well, after seeing this posted, I just retweeted it with like hasn't the pendulum swung like the other way?
Yeah.
He says, I must admit, watching the last Star Wars film, The Last Jedi, the overriding feeling I got when I came out was I miss George Lucas. Pegg confessed on the Adam Buxton podcast. And for all the complaining that I'd done about him in the prequels, there was something amazing about his imagination. This is very interesting. Pegg also shared the story of how he once met Lucas at the premiere of Revenge of the Sith, and that the legendary filmmaker gave him some advice. He was talking to Ron Howard, and I think he'd seen Shaun of the Dead because he immediately went, "Oh, hey, Shaun of the Dead," and shook my hand, Pegg recalled. And George Lucas immediately changed his demeanor. I think I missed a little line there. I think there was something about when I read it. Oh, I got to print these out because I've got too many screens open. But it was something about how he thought George Lucas was going to think he was another fanboy. But then once he sort of realized he was a filmmaker as well, sort of, was sort of interested to talk to him about that. And, so it says, and George Lucas immediately changed his demeanor and said, don't be making the same film you made 30 years ago, 30 years from now, Lucas told Pegg, according to the actor. And yeah, when you think about Revenge of the Sith, that was it about 25 years after Star Wars? So it was a bit, that was a biting bit of advice.
What I think is happening now is Simon Pegg becoming a prequels fan, like by proxy now, like because he has these little issues with the sequel trilogy not being George Lucas-y enough, that now he's gonna like look at the prequels in a different light. He's gonna come around like, oh, I kind of like those now. They have George Lucas in them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm more prequels-y now because they're like their importance is diluted, so I don't have to count on them as much. And I think I was saying this last week, because of the Phantom edits, I realized that I just didn't like 5 minutes of the film. It was spliced throughout the film, but it was about 5 minutes that I could do without. Before we take some calls, and you can call in on 646-668-8360. If you want to talk on the show, just hit 1 on your touchpad, and it'll come up with a little thing saying that you would like to join the conversation. And also a big shout out to who we got: Super Cruzzer, King Tom, Rural Farm Boy, Casita Creations, and a bunch of squad. Seth Owen in the chat room on youtube.com. You may have heard of it. It's a hotbed of videos. If you want online videos, Luke Cruiser, it's hard to go past youtube.com. youtube.com.
Really?
Click it.
That's okay. We're getting. I'll write that down in my notepad.
This episode is brought to you by youtube.com. Literally, because that's the platform it's on. Before we get to the calls we just put up a new Steele Wars podcast on iTunes and wherever you get your podcast from, with JC Reifenberg from the Scum and Villainy Cantina, going into how all that was created. And he's also a really interesting Star Wars fan that's done some really cool projects, like the Who's The Force comedy short film, which you can check out on YouTube. But that one just went up. And if you're a Patreon, if you're on the $3 Patreon level, you are getting a plethora of stuff this month. We've got a new Robbo report. We've got the Last Jedi commentary with details from The Last Jedi. We've got a new Making Steele Wars with Jason Ward breaking down the news behind the news. And the second episode of our Star Wars Year by podcast with Hawes and me going through Star Wars history just went up in audio and video. And if you want to check out Luke on the Bad Motivators, we'll hit it all later on as well. But give us the quick rundown on that one, Luke.
Well, every Wednesday, me and two of my good buddies, a lot of you would know Eric Strothers. He does a lot of work for Steele as well. He hosts the show, or the directs it, I should say, keeps us in line. He's the dad between the dads, and my good buddy Dallas Wood. We discuss the news. I say probably maybe not as heavy as others do, but we also dive into the other stories that are out there. We started to do some different kind of sections of different things. Like I'm doing some EU stuff. Eric does Adapt Metal, all kinds of good stuff.
Cruiser, just the opening of it came from the EU. just an eerie piece of like. Did Ben Burt put that together for you or what? That is some spooky stuff.
It is good stuff. Actually, you know what that is? That's a part of Snoke's theme. Actually, wait, no. There's two different ones. There's one that Matt Frost did for us, where he has all of this dialogue and stuff, and there's another one where it's just me talking, and that one is part of Snoke's theme.
Nice, but yeah, real good.
Yeah.
I love the Bad Motivators podcast. It's got its own just relaxed flavor. I especially love the who got what. That's for some reason I just enjoy, because I think now my collecting is very limited just from time and money and space, and what I get out of it, sort of thing. But I enjoy living vicariously through you guys snaffling Black Series after Black Series.
You like hearing us just pile up pounds and pounds and pounds of plastic.
Yeah.
Going off. That must be the life.
Yes. Well, I only just got my cabinet neatened. If you're on YouTube, you can actually just see it in the corner. So I didn't feel like I deserved to purchase anything while it was not in a state that it deserved. And because a lot of people have been coming around now to see Harrison, that not that they cared at all, but I was getting very self-conscious about the cabinet. Like, no one noticed it was messy, but it was hurting me. Do you know what I mean?
You knew.
I
you
very
knew it wasn't right.
All right,
it was not canonical.
Let's take some calls and see what news they want to talk about. We'll try to get it through it all, but I like to let the people decide what the topic of the days are. And let's go to 410. Who are you and where you're calling from?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I'm Zach, calling from Baltimore.
Zach from Baltimore, the fictional home of Elaine Bennis.
Edgar Allan Poe as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean Baltimore as a fictional place, but Elaine Bennis is a fictional character. Baltimore is very real, and Zach is here to prove it.
Yeah.
Zach, what's on your mind this evening?
Well, with Pedro Pascal on The Mandalorian and Diego Luna with his show, I think I've noticed that a lot of people online are saying that, the TV, when are we going to get like stuff with the Force, lightsabers and stuff? And, with these two shows, I don't think there will be a lot of that. So I was thinking that they should save the Force stuff for the Game of Thrones people's movies and Rian Johnson's movies, because, I was just trying to see what your guys' thoughts on that was, because I feel like the Force is like the most. I feel like you don't want to spoil that on TV, because it's like every episode you can get used to it,
Zach, this is a topic that I'm glad you brought up, and it's also a topic I have very strong opinions about. Very strong. And they 100% align with yours. Let's save the Force, let's save lightsabers for the movies, and have however we use them very thought out. And when you look at, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like you have the giant battles with the crazy, super powerful superheroes in the film. And then you have the smaller stories on television. And yeah, I'm scared anytime they delve into the Force, and I'd be more than happy to have lightsabers saved for either down the track, and that's also don't spend all your collateral. Build up if you want to have a lightsaber series. But where are you on this one, Luke? Sabers on your Disney Plus or just on the big screen?
I think overall I would prefer it on the big screen. I'm not as die hard on keeping it out of TV and stuff like that, because I kind of feel that maybe in the future, and I know people don't care about direct-to-streaming movies as much of other things, but I feel like there's a way that they could tell smaller stories that aren't like a 8-part miniseries, like an actual, like, hour and 40-minute, 2-hour movie in a less expensive way, and maybe they would tell some kind of story that would include some form of the Force, but not necessarily the movie. So I'm mostly with you, but I'm not against it. But I can see how it should be more of a grandiose thing, kept for the big stage. Like I
yeah, with TV you can like play around with the genres more. And
I think it's cool.
Thriller.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, like you were saying, to be able to have these smaller stories and tell them and really get to know these characters, especially with like Cassian. For me, Rogue One wasn't my favorite Star Wars movie, but I enjoy it. But Cassian was probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite thing about that movie. So it's really cool to be able to get to know his smaller story. And then I think I heard Jason Ward somewhere mention like how he could. I don't know. He's some scrub on the internet. I'm not really sure who he is. But he's always talking about how in this Cassian series maybe Darth Vader could kind of be not in the show, like directly involved with Cassian, but just kind of this menacing presence that kind of Cassian's always trying to avoid. So you never really see him do anything, but his presence would be there, and I think that would be okay. But I don't think we ever need to have those two come in contact. But yeah.
Yeah, I loved Rogue One, but when you think about that scene of Cassian shooting the guy in the back, like that was so fascinating, and to have a window into that world that led him to that, bravo, bring it on. You can keep your lightsabers. Catherine Kinane, who has had a very exciting week of Star Wars news, she says on the YouTube chat, "Just give me Diego. I'll be watching Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights for him." Is he in that? And he's in the Flatliners remake. Wow, I think
yeah, he is.
It sounds like Diego could stop Catherine from flatlining by the. She's very enthusiastic. I follow her on Twitter, and Bob Iger's got her dollars. Bobby I can count on the Kinane currency. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I gotta tell you, man, I'm over the moon that Pedro Pascal has been cast in The Mandalorian, like officially. Even though Jason let us know about it like months ago, it seems now. All of it needs to come at least a month ago. I was really excited for that. He was one of my favorite parts of about Game of Thrones. I know you don't watch it, Steele, but he was one of my favorite parts, and he was like the only one of the few light spots in that second British spy movie. I forget what it's called, but everybody liked the first one, the second one, and he's so talented, and he's in a new movie called Harvest, I think, that I really want to see. It's kind of an indie film, so the more Pedro, the better, and have him in Star Wars, that's great.
Yeah, I just know him from Narcos. Sorry.
Yeah.
And kills it. So good.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing better than him on that show is Pablo Escobar's 90s era polo sport. He has got just some incredible like sweaters and like polo, like rugby tops that look like have won awards. Like the embroideries are just, woo. So, yeah. So
takes you back, huh?
Yeah, right. Very far. My cupboard still aspires to such embroidered heights, Cruiser. Don't worry about that, buddy. But yeah, I think it's pretty sick that he's in it. It's very cool. And yeah, Jason had that about a month ago, and then Variety, which I don't know, they had a weird sort of thing of like, it had been rumored, but now it's been rumored to us. And, just say who it was rumored to, like if Breznican can do it, then who amongst us is above Breznican, you know? And along with Pascal, we've got Gina Carano, who I just know from the UFC. Do you know much?
She was in Deadpool.
In 1 or 2?
She was in the first Deadpool. 1.
Oh, really? Who was she?
She was the lady bad guy next to Ajax, who fought the metal dude. I forgot his name already.
Colossus or
at the end. Yeah, Colossus. Yeah, he fought Colossus she fought Colossus in the end battle next to the big ship. She was always chewing on a matchstick.
Interesting. I vaguely remember. I don't. I saw it and I laughed a lot, but it didn't stick with me, and I didn't go see the next one. So there you go. Anything else on your mind, Zach, that you want to talk about?
No, I was just wondering also, real quick, when do you think the Ryan Johnson trilogy? When do you think that will come out? Because right now, as it stands, I don't think we're going to get a movie in 2020. So I know it's been speculated before, but with the announcement of the 2 shows, I feel like we might not get a movie until maybe 2021 or 22. And the Game of Thrones movies too.
So we've got end of 2019. Will they get one in?
No, the end of 2020.
Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah. My head had started thinking about that, but my mouth hadn't said it. So, ta-da!
I think they will. I don't think they're getting away from that one a year.
Yeah, after they were gushing about The Last Jedi, the sweet Last Jedi bunts, on that call, and how they were lamenting that there'd be a down grade of, income or whatever. I think Bobby I might want one of those December Star Wars films again. And who can argue? Who can argue? I tell you one thing, there is going to be the panel schedule at Celebration. There's like 7 must-see panels. Like when you think about everything that could be going on,
it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah, like you've got EP9, you've got Phantom Menace 20th anniversary, and they're trying to track down. I think they're going for like the 40th anniversary, but around the Phantom Menace.
Mandalorian.
You got the Mandalorian.
Clone Wars.
You have Clone Wars. So it's
and surely Ryan Johnson will be there, or the Game of Thrones dudes will be there, given maybe some kind of taste of what they're going to be doing. So
you'd hope so.
Think something's going to be happening.
I would also, even if Ryan Johnson doesn't have, he's not doing a thing for his trilogy. I want him to, I hope he just comes and just does a panel or something, because I kind of...
YouTube will make you...
What, sorry?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I was going to say YouTube will make you think that everyone's going to boo him, but I don't think that's...
They're way wrong.
Dude.
Yeah, they're living in their fantasy bubble again.
I know how, that stuff works... in professional wrestling, where the audiences are much louder, and if someone goes to boo something that's out of line, the people around them will shut them down very quickly. And I think at Star Wars Celebration that'd be big time. But
yeah,
it's sort of at Orlando, it would have been cool if JJ did something to sort of stay integrated, with the sort of fan community, not just, I've made my film, so check ya. And I understand he's busy, but it would have been, so I hope Ryan Johnson, the dude that signed autographs, the guy that hates Star Wars fans, that hung out until 3 a.m. in the morning in a basement signing everyone's con badges.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be great to have him. But hey, Zach, thanks so much for calling in, man. Great topics and questions. I feel like
thank you.
I feel like I'm prank calling myself with just to agree with myself. So you can call in anytime, Zach. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Yep. Thanks for having me.
That's that. All right, let's go to a Skype caller. I have a feeling I know who this is. Skype caller, who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, Steele. It's Catherine from Melbourne, Australia.
Catherine. Now, you want to talk about your hopes for a Boba Fett film? Is that what you're calling in about?
No, I want to talk about Cassian.
So, Bobby
God.
I just casually drops into his little conference. Oh, we're going to do a Cassian Andor series. What happens to the life of Catherine at that
Classic
moment?
Bobby I. Classic.
Oh my God. That was the best. Oh, yeah. So
Are you fanning yourself right now, Catherine?
Like, honestly, I'm shaking. With just joy.
Oh my God.
And it was just so bad. I was at work and I had to try to contain myself until I just went, I can't, because I've got to go and teach students in a little bit. I'll just explode.
Oh my
So
God.
I just had to tell people in the office, and I was jumping and just squealing, and no one understood.
We understand.
Oh man, I saw this on the Star Wars Underworld, and Diego Luna, like his enthusiasm for Star Wars is quite contagious. The article by our buddy Benjamin Hart with no E says, last week Star Wars fans were buzzing with excitement following the announcement that a new Rogue One prequel series starring Cassian Andor would be coming to Disney+. What really sweetened the deal was the news that Diego Luna, who portrayed Cassian in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, would be returning to reprise the role in this new series. While everyone has been sharing their thoughts on the series, it seems past time to get some more reactions from the actor himself. During an interview with Collider while promoting his newest project, Narcos Mexico, in which he stars, Diego Luna was asked about his return to Star Wars and spoke briefly about the Cassian Andor series. Collider says, when did you find out you were going to do this show? And he says, very recently. That's why I know very little. Very recently. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. It's a dream come true. Do you have any idea when you might be filming? That I don't know. I know as much as you know. That thing they sent to the press, I got that the day before. Wow. What a scoop. And the series is described as a rousing spy thriller and is expected to go into production sometime next year. Catherine.
Oh.
You're down there, bud.
Did you just melt? He's like, for one, a beautiful man, amazing actor.
I feel.
I love Intori. Is in the chat. And so Catherine, what who else would you like? Cassian?
Well, like you were mentioning last week, Space Jimmy Smith, that, you know, were there in Rogue One and tragically died. But because they did stuff, I want to see what they did, the missions they went on, what they did that they felt like they needed redemption. And, of course, Blue Squadron and their wonderful, wonderful moustaches.
Beautiful. You gotta love a good stash.
Oh,
especially
my
a
God.
nice ginger one like that.
If only I could
Beautiful.
love them as much as anywhere near as the way Catherine does. That's such unbridled enthusiasm, Catherine, for the Blue Squadron moustaches. They should call it the most glow.
They're just so dashing.
And then you throw like his like enthusiastic smile over top of it with his helmet on.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah.
Yep.
I think we need to write some fanfic, Catherine.
Oh my God. Catherine, what else is on your mind in the world of Star Wars? Or is this it?
Oh, this is pretty much it. This is me set for a very long time. But I am, you know, really interested in the casting for The Mandalorian. It looks really intriguing and really interesting casting, so I can't wait to see where they go with that one.
Yeah, it's so strange that, like Jason's down there on set in a bin, like watching people film, and
that was cool.
The cast hasn't been announced yet. It's very strange. Yeah. If you want to see a lot of non-spoiler but fascinating set photos, go check out makingstarwars.net, because hey, Jason Ward's not hiding in that bin for nothing, you know.
And you can see Taika Waititi in action.
Yes,
pretty cool. Yeah,
pointing.
Excellent.
Well, Catherine, it is so nice to hear from you. I miss seeing you dearly, and I hope all is well, buddy.
Yeah, same to you, and hugs to you all. Hugs to Will Harrison.
I will. I won't hug him like he's Diego Luna, but I'll just give him a wackling.
That's called child abuse. You can't do that.
Yeah. You just combusted. It was crazy. But I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay.
Nice.
Bye.
One more little news blurb that I caught on the Star Wars Underworld is Billy Lord quickly talks about shooting episode 9. Lord said that she has shot scenes for episode 9 for 3 weeks back in September, and she promised fans the new film will be magical. Lord said, I got to watch myself because the Star Wars PD is going to come get me, but it is incredible. I've read the script and I've been on set. I was on set for like 3 weeks back in September, and it is going to be magical. I can't say much more, but I'm so excited about it and so grateful to be part of it. Star Wars is my heart. I love it. And of course, they're using unused footage shot for The Force Awakens: The Last Jedi, and about that decision, director J.J. Abrams said, with support and blessing from her daughter Billy, a way to honor Carrie's legacy and role as Leia in Episode 9 by using unseen footage we shot together in Episode 7. But of course, Last Jedi is getting used also. Cruiser, were you there when she did the speech at Celebration?
That was... No, because I don't know if you remember or not, but I literally decided to go that Thursday, like when everybody showed up, or that Wednesday. So I wasn't able. I wasn't able to get that ticket for that day. So, or I wasn't able to get there in time. So I missed the best part of Celebration, which was the 4th anniversary panel. But yeah, I missed it.
Well, I won't go on about how it was a once in a lifetime
Beautiful.
Magical moment.
Yeah,
there's about 7 of them in that panel. Let's
George
take
Lucas, John Williams.
A call. Settle down there, Cruiser. From our buddy in Ohio, the king of all kings, the king of all callers. It is King Tom Chansky. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, Steele and Luke. Thank you for taking my call. It is great to be on the line with both Australia's gift to podcasting and one of my two favorite bad motivators.
Wow.
The mystery remains, who's the third man out?
Wow.
Yep.
Well, that reminds me, there's going to be a new Struthers Wars next week, so I'm not sure if that's related or not, but there's a new Struthers Wars.
Who knows? Who knows?
What's on your mind, King Tom?
The reason I'm calling, something I've been thinking about here and there. I'm very excited about The Mandalorian.
Tom, can I just pull you up there?
Yes.
I think from now on, when you call in, you just start it. I'll say, what's on your mind? And you have to start it with something like, here's what I've been thinking. And it has to be the same thing. Like, it has to be exactly the same thing so we can make up stickers. We can merchandise this. King Tom, here's what I've been thinking. And then you just go into
here's what I've been thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So let's try it out. Let's try it out.
Okay.
So Tom, this week in Star Wars, what's been on your mind?
Here's what I've been thinking, Steele. How is that?
Yeah, but then you're meant to say, you're not meant to break character. You're meant to keep.
That's all I was thinking in the moment. But if you want to know what I was thinking before, here's what I've been thinking. I'm very excited about The Mandalorian.
I don't think you should say it so aggressively, though. Like I don't think here's what I've been thinking. It's more just
it's not believable when you scream it at us.
Yeah, it's more just like, here's what I've been thinking. Like, let's keep it light. Let's try it one more time.
Hey guys, I'm King Tom. I'm happy. I'm a good-looking guy.
King Tom, what's been on your mind this week in Star Wars?
Here's what I've been thinking, Steele. The Mandalorian. Very excited about it. The Cassian Andor show. I'm very excited about it. But I know I was listening last week when you did the Making Steele Wars with the guy Luke Cruiser called a nobody, Jason Ward. Mm-hmm. And you talked a little bit about he talked a little bit about the scrapped Tatooine / Bounty Hunters movie. Do you guys think that having two series like this means that any side stories that aren't part of either the main saga or the Benioff and Weiss stuff, the Rian Johnson stuff, they're not really going to do these side stories based on characters we know as movies, but instead they'll do them as TV shows? I know you talked about future planning a little bit with, I think, Zach, one of the previous callers, but is this it for Star Wars stories for now?
I kind of think so and agree. I just don't think Star Wars is cut out for these Yoda. Do you know what I mean? Like that's because everyone always looks to Marvel, but Marvel, Marvel was marketed as separate characters, and then when they came together, it was novel. But Star Wars was always an ensemble of all this awesome stuff. And then, I don't know, to strip stuff away, even like Solo, like people complain there's not, the Force isn't in it, Darth Maul, whatever. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of having non-Force users, have little stories on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so Steele's fine with movies as long as they're about Force users and a part of a bigger overarching story.
Yeah, I kind of think the movies without the Force is a bit empty. Like I liked Rogue One and I liked Solo, but God, I'm pumped for Episode 9.
Oh yeah.
And so the movies without the Force in them, based on past history, I'm less enthusiastic about. But they're also the saga films because there hasn't been a non-saga film that had the Force. So it could be the saga films I'm interested in, not particularly the Force. Who knows? What a mystery. You've really got me lying down on the leather couch here, King Tom.
That's what happens when you ask what I've been thinking.
I think that the Star Wars stories. I've been thinking that the Star Wars stories.
Hey, gimmick infringement. Chill out, Cruiser.
Okay. No longer one of my two favorite bad motivators. But do go on.
Okay.
Dude, he's only had this gimmick for 10 minutes and people are already biting his style. What the hell?
It's that good. It's that good. If it's good, people steal it.
I expected this of one of your co-hosts. I'm not going to name which one, Dallas, but I expected it of one of them, not of you.
But what I've been thinking is that you guys are kind of right in a way, in my opinion. Like you can take like even like. Do you think that they could make like an Obi-Wan on Tatooine, like mini short run series on Disney, where it's not really all about the Force, or does that?
Would you and
it's also like, if that's like, and because it's for Disney, like he's, the like Disney film, he did that Christopher Robin, and like that's a pretty sweet place to be. So I think he's up for doing a few solids, and who knows? Maybe more people would watch it on that. But I think it's it's gotta be a possibility in this day and age. I'm cutting the cord. I'm not going to the movies. Ewan knows this.
Yeah. Well, maybe after the air quotes failure of Solo, maybe they're getting a little gun shy, like this whole conversation here about doing Star Wars stories. So maybe they're just thinking, maybe we should really just take, like, people still want these smaller stories, and maybe we could really use Disney Plus, the platform, to tell them while gaining, members, stuff like that. Much like with what Netflix does with their Marvel properties. While some people might want to see a Daredevil movie or something, they also realize that the way they're able to tell Daredevil's story on the shows they have on Netflix is much better because it's a smaller story and you're able to get more in depth. And I think if you really want to get into what, say, just for instance, what Obi-Wan's been up to, you're not going to want to sit there and try to figure out what the whole thing while you're watching a movie. Might not be as interesting. It might be more interesting to see Obi-Wan's daily comings and goings in a TV show format.
Yeah, I can't wait for like one of those German Star Wars sites to unveil the episode titles, and one of them is just daily goings on.
Right.
Yeah, it's a biggest, the biggest spoiler since Qui-Gon's noble end.
and you thought people complained when Luke got his milk.
King Tom.
I'm just saying that instead of like you, I'm agreeing with you in a weird different way. Like instead of doing the Star Wars stories, they make these TV shows and they're able to without on the $300 million budget of a movie and hoping that it plays and hoping that it pays off. And then yeah. So
I want it. I want it to succeed, but at the same time, I'm greedy and I want one Star Wars movie a year in December. But that's just me.
And that's what he's been thinking.
That's what
Such a good segment. I want to see that trend. King Tom, are you all right to stay on the line, or are you going to go?
I can stay.
All right. Well,
I can
let's
stay. I
see.
can share some more of what I've been thinking.
Nice. That'll get the views. If you are on hold and you want to chat, just hit the one on your touch tone pad, much like our next caller, 614, has, which is the same area code as King Tom, which is strange, I guess. Is it strange? It's strange to me. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, Phil. It's Rebecca from Perth.
See, the Australian, it's the same code. It's the same code. King Tom gaslit me thinking that, because I kept thinking he was from Australia, but it is the same code. And thank you, Rebecca, for calling in and making me feel sane. I'm so mad at King Tom for this. I'm almost ready to hand over the new catchphrase to Rebecca, but just watch yourself, Tom. I own the copyright on that one. I've got the master license. But what's on your mind, Rebecca? No infringement.
It's not a good week for me to have a catchphrase because we've got burn-off happening at the moment and the whole city is blanketed in smoke. So it's a great time to be asthmatic. And I'm crazy in hell. Look, I really just called up and say it was awesome to hear from Catherine earlier on the show. I hope she's settling down by now, but I don't think that's going to be happening.
She's breathing into a Rogue One bag right now.
Now, raising this thing about what Simon Pegg said about bringing George Lucas back into the film.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you, and I have an answer to this, but I'm happy to hear yours first. If George Lucas was to come back, what would you want him to direct? Would it be a film? Would it be one of the TV shows? Would it be something completely different, like a web series? What do you think he should direct if he was to come back?
I think he should direct one episode of one of these television series, just like they're doing with The Mandalorian. Just have George Lucas direct this one episode. Honestly, I think that's all he'd be willing to do.
Okay. Because personally, I probably wouldn't even have him directing the ballet parking out the front of a new movie release. As awesome as he is as the creator of the entire Star Wars universe, his day's gone. It's kind of like a sports star deciding 20 years after they retire that it's a good time to come back and try and win that next premiership. It's just not going to happen, George.
Yeah,
He's Michael Jordan in it.
Let the past be the past.
That reminds me, I've got to go buy a skateboard.
Great idea.
That was brutal, Rebecca. That setup for that was very callous.
To use that skateboard analogy, every time I think about getting a skateboard again, all I do is I look down at my hands at my lip from where I came with the half pipe at South Yarra and split myself open. And I realised, no, it's not a good idea.
Why were you on the skate park? I presume that was at Paran, which was just
in the half pipe there.
Why are you on the ramp at Paran, Rebecca? Were you dressed as Captain Phasma at the time? Please say yes.
No, I was skating at the time. We used to travel over there, skate as long as we wanted to. Then when I played the drums at, I think it was Drum City in Devil Street, and then back to the skate park, and then get on the train and go back home to 6th grade.
Really?
And that all went fine until the time that I tried to spin around on the ramp and turn the wrong way and ended up outside the ramp and fell face first.
Oh wow! I didn't realize you had this skate cred going on, Rebecca. My apologies.
Very little cred. It was mainly skating when I couldn't water ski. This is before the knee reconstruction, so yeah. I'm just too scared. I'm too scared to, like, when I'm in the air and the board's flipping, I'm in sheer terror that I'm going to land wrong and my fragile little ankles are going to shatter all over the ground. So I can't risk it. When we're 14, we all do crazy things.
We sure do. We sure do. Great days. I don't direct one of the shows, like a character that he had to do in creating, but he just doesn't seem to like directing films. So like, why put him through it? Like I would love for him to, like, say they made Star Wars Episode 9, which they will do, and then they did theory that comes out in 2027 for 50 years. So it's
that was mine. That was mine, Steele.
Oh, don't step on King Tom's toes. Don't you do it.
Wow. That was what.
If you look up the Here's What I've Been Thinking of a Call-In show about a year ago.
Look what you've done, Steele. Look what you've created.
This is the thing, though. Like, it sounds really impressive that was him. But I guess when you call into, like, 14 different podcasts a week, you're bound to get a few things right or have a few decent calls. Like, it's a shotgun approach.
I don't ever talk about what I get wrong.
Okay, how about we have George Lucas appear in The Mandalorian as a trusty old bounty hunter, and just sort of plunk in the corner of the cantina somewhere.
George Lucas as Dengar.
Imagine George Lucas as Watto's assistant.
He's the only bounty hunter wearing a flannel shirt and looking at noodles.
Oh, yes. I would love to see a Photoshop of George Lucas with Watto wings. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Get that up there. Come on. Get that going. Oh, my God.
Opens up Photoshop.
Some broad strokes in this Star Wars Episode 10 that we've all made up. But, yeah. 570 on the line from. If you want to chat, just hit 1. But I think you just want to listen in. So, Rebecca, coming out of all this, we've got so much stuff going on. What's your number one? What are you staying on target for?
Episode 9. That's a big thing for me. I mean, I'm from the age of the films originally. Anything else I see is a bonus, but for me personally, it's the film.
Me too. All right, well, I think we are about ready to wrap it up. Rebecca, thanks so much for calling in, buddy.
Yep.
It's always fun to hear from you, and enjoy your Saturday afternoon.
You're welcome. I'll call in again in a few weeks' time after I've seen the Star Wars Identities exhibition in Sydney.
Ooh.
I'm due to see that the day before the call-in show.
Nice. That is some good sizzle. I am officially marked me down as jealous. Thanks so much, buddy. Look forward to it.
All right. Hooroo.
Nice. That is Rebecca's official sign-off. Hooroo. She's got that down. So I appreciate. I like branding, guys. I really appreciate that.
We've noticed.
Oh. God, the claws are out tonight.
Yeah. I tell you, you created this diva. This is all your fault.
Oh my God.
What your name is.
All right. King Tom, where can the people find you on
Tom Chansky on Twitter, and if I may plug something small, I'm going to be a guest on this week's The Sith List.
God, he gets around,
nice.
Doesn't he? He gets around. Always a pleasure, Tom. I can't wait to hear what you've been thinking next week.
I'll try and think up some things, but thank you for having me. And it was always fun to talk to you.
My pleasure. I should just as we're unwinding, I saw our buddy Amanda Ward in the chat, and her new episode of Rebel Girl with Amy Ratcliffe. I listened to that today, and it's really good. So you should check that out. Talking about her book and the things involved in getting that book up. Luke Cruiser of the Bad Motivators, where can people find you on social media and on-demand audio?
You can follow me at Luke Cruiser. That's LUKECRUSER. You can follow my show at Bad_Motivators. Like I said earlier, we release episodes every Wednesday, and it's a lot of fun. It's just three dads loving the Star Wars, and and we're doing some interesting stuff. You should check us out.
Nice. I do already every week, so it's one of my faves, and I do appreciate the dad advice that comes through, because the kid needs it. The kid needs it. Make sure you check out the new episode with JC Reifenberg of the Scum and Villainy Cantina, and if you want to support the podcast on Patreon for $3, you've got, I think this month you've got at least 10 hours of some pretty top shelf content. That Last Jedi commentary with details. People have been digging it. So check that out at patreon.com/Steele Wars, and check out the free podcast on iTunes or wherever good and bad podcasts are downloaded. If you listen live, thank you guys so much. Give it a little thumbs up and subscribe and all that stuff, and algorithm, blah, blah, blah. Just hit the thumbs up. I don't know. Just,
hashtags, all that.
I don't know. Content. It's very complicated, you guys. Luke Cruiser, it's been an absolute pleasure, buddy. Thanks so much for co-hosting with us.
Yeah, man. The pleasure's all mine. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I double your pleasure. Double mint. But thank you guys so much, and may that force be with you.